What we've done here is we've moved a window that had some signs of rot in the sashes. The actual jambs themselves were in pretty good shape. A little bit of dry rot at the bottoms where the windows connected together. We pulled that out. You can see the walls were covered with Tyvek originally. They were wrapped pretty well, but they weren't done up to today's specs. So what we've done is we pulled all that Tyvek back. This is kind of in process right now, but we're using a barrier called Wrap Shield. And what we're going to do is cut it to the opening. Underneath here, what we've installed is there's a metal flashing here on top of the drip edge, the cap here on the water table, and then we put a piece of Vicor on top of that that's about 12 inches. It comes up to about this point here. The Wrap Shield comes down over that, so that creates a positive water drainage plane. And then we'll cut that Wrap Shield right flush with this sill. And let me see if I can roll this back so you can see. You can see what we've done is we put a positive slope on this by putting this piece of cedar lap side in. It's thicker at the back than it is at the front. That'll create a positive drain slope when we put our Vicor on top of that. And the Vicor will go out over this material, again creating a positive drain plane over. The Wrap Shield is over the Vicor. Vicor is over the flashing, and that should create a system that will have no leaks to it. And that's where we are to this point. Okay, we're just about to the point where we're ready to install the window. Just want to show you how we've created a proper water plane. Of course, we talked about the Bitchethane that's installed, or Vicor is the actual brand name, that's installed over the drip edge flashing, and then we've got our Wrap Shield over top of that, and then we've got another layer of Grace Vicor over top of this Wrap Shield. And what we've done on the inside is we've created this little dam, and what that does is it creates a place for if water does happen to come in here, although it's unlikely, if it does come into, because we got a positive slope to the outside, and we've got this little dam here, any water would be sure to shed right back out, and that's the reason that we don't nail. There's only two brackets that get fastened at the bottom, and then the flange at the bottom actually stays flexible, so any moisture could find its way out. As you see, we go up the sides, we wrap the sides. The first layer gets wrapped over top of the Wrap Shield, and then when we put that second layer of Wrap Shield, that'll go over top. We'll bring our final layer of Vicor over that, and that'll create another situation where it's got a positive drainage plane. That's it.
You're on.
All right, now as seen from the outside, the installation of the window is almost complete. What we've got here is we've got this bottom flange, which will remain unsealed, as we talked about earlier, in order so if any water should penetrate the actual envelope of the home, it can find a way back out underneath this flange. But you also see these two brackets. There's two steel brackets here, and then also there's two matching brackets at the top, and those are what create the DP50 rating that's required in the area that we're working in. Once asked an engineer, there's a lot of holes here, how many of them should I fill? And he said, well, how many are there? That's the end of that joke. And then finally, we fill every hole going up the side. We'll do the same along the top and down the other side as well. And that'll give us our final fastening. And then what will happen is on these sides, we'll actually add another layer of Vicor. It'll go over the flange and onto the corner of the window. This will further seal the window completely. We've got a bead behind here, and between that lower, the bead, and this upper Vicor, that'll be a complete seal. And then we've got the same thing that'll happen on the other side. And on the top will get the Vicor across the top of it, and that is a finished flash for that up there. Okay, we've gotten to the point where we actually hard set the window, and this window being a triple can be a little bit more difficult because you've got one window in the middle that obviously it's going to line up no matter what. These mullions are fairly thick. But you've got the outside windows where the adjustment has to be just right so these will operate correctly. The way this manufacturer recommends setting their windows is they want them set with a shim at the top of the operating window, a shim at the middle where the sashes meet, and then a shim also at the bottom. And then where necessary, a shim along the bottom. Now this sill was very flat, except for it dropped off a little bit at this end, so we shimmed it here. The middle, both of these middles were fine, and we were fine over there. So as you can see, what ends up happening is you end up with a window that operates extremely smoothly, but not to mention this is a very high-end window. And these windows are all tilt wash. They both tilt in. They can both be removed fairly easily. And that pretty much brings us to the end of the window installation.